Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joined today from Department of Aid, Trade, Consumer Protection is our friend Michael. He's back, and might be the biggest scam of this month. No, it is. It's been a pretty big deal here, and we're going to be talking about that fake toll text scam. I'm just trying to think if we talked about this when it first came up last summer, because it came up from Illinois, and I told you I'd taken a trip down to Chicago, came back, and I was telling that the Illinois website, because I had to sign on to pay a toll, and it was interesting because right on the front page there was like, hey, there's a scam, don't do this. And a week later I got the text. I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. Wow, did this just take off like a wildfire? There's a lot of things here, so I'm going to stop talking and let the expert talk here. But you're seeing people being targeted, Wisconsin drivers with text messages pretending to be from a tolling agency.
Correct.
With overdue charges. And you don't have to put any state to this. It's just overdue charges with tolls.
Correct.
Dang.
So what's interesting about this is we had planned to talk about this before the whole weekend blew up, with the other one scam taking place with the spoofing Wisconsin DOT and saying the Easy Pass, because we had started to see the sprinkles because it's spring break. And so this scam would start to spike a little bit because people are traveling, and so they're in other states where they're going to have tolls. And if you're in Wisconsin, we're thinking, well, we don't have them, so it's possible that we were. And so what happened was we were prepared to start talking about this or bring awareness to what would happen, and then the scammers showed us exactly why we needed to talk about this.
Wow. Hey, you talk about timing is everything when it comes to scams. I've heard it from our friends from BBB. I've heard it from you and Michelle many times over. And it's one famous one I hear is scammers follow the news. Scammers follow the events. Scammers follow the timing. The timing is everything on these things. And what a perfect time on spring break to just come out with this.
It is.
Crazy.
It's exactly. You're so perfect on when they follow that timeline. They follow the calendar with different types of scams we see happen. You know, the tax scam started in January, February, because we know.
Sort of like you plan to talk about these things as they come up. All right, I'm done reinforcing it. You get the point. So let's talk about what to do here to make sure that you avoid any type of scam in general, but in this one specifically, because there are some interesting pieces here to know that it's legit or not legit. So first one, and my favorite one, is just slow down. If you didn't travel anywhere and you got this, you're like, oh, what? Probably not true, right?
Probably not. And that's why they want to get you in to start doing exactly what you just said, second guessing and questioning. And what you want to do when you slow down is don't find a reason that it should be true. Convince yourself that it's not true.
Interesting.
Because you might be thinking, well, it's not my license plate, but does somebody else have my license plate? Does somebody spoof my license plate? Does somebody have my vehicle? You know, and you start questioning all these reasons that it might be real or true, and in reality, it's not. So just go ahead and slow down, take a second, talk it through. The great one is you just ask yourself, well, was I in a state that had tolls? I'm like, no, I've never left Wisconsin. Pretty easy for you to quickly say, hey, go ahead, that's a scam.
But it is interesting. It's like you could, think like, oh, dang, did they steal my license plate? Did they steal my identity? That does open up some questions to be like, that are pretty legit, actually.
Well, they are, and I bring that up because right now we're talking about fake text toll scams.
Not easy to say. Wowza.
But I want to take a quick second and talk about a couple of variations we've just heard about in the past couple of weeks, which are also email and letter scams where we are seeing scammers send pictures of legitimate license plates. And so what they're doing is they find out what your license plate is, and they use the computer to generate a picture, and they say, hey, we have your car going through this toll. Well, now you question and say, well, did somebody create a plate? And so they're adding a little bit more legitimacy. This plants that seed. This is just casting it out there and saying, hey, let's just see who responds. Who clicks our link and pays and thinks maybe I did. Next, the other one, they say, well, we'll put a little bit more effort into it. But all of them are just preying on whether or not you're going to take that minute to slow down and say, is this real?
My favorite things here: unwanted, catch you off guard, put some pressure on you to make that quick decision acting, and slowing down. That's where it's got to start. Checking with the tolling agency directly. So we're saying that this was a text message scam that comes through. You really shouldn't. When you think about emails, think about text scams the same. This is the way I think of it. When I see an unwanted message come to me via text, immediately I report it as junk and toss it. Yep. And if I'm really even like for a second, like I'm like, well, I'm just going to go to the agency. That's what you recommend here is go to the,
You don't need me anymore. Just go ahead.
So here at
it away,
DATCP, we want to make sure you go to the direct place. It's so important, though, to go there because these are spoofing sites. If you click the link, you're setting yourself up for failure. And I'm saying this in the nicest way. I've done it. It's not nice. It's not pretty. The ending sucks.
You are, and so important is that when you click on that link, you're not going to go into some goofy website that's going to jump out at you and say, like, oh, now I can tell this is fake. It's going to look exactly like the legitimate website in the portal. And the only thing is going to be a tiny little nuance that you're probably not going to pick up. And so you're going to think you're paying a legitimate toll. That's absolutely correct. And what we want you to do is we never want you to respond to those links or those phone numbers. We want you to heed your advice, which is perfect, of reaching out to that agency directly. Don't respond to those unsolicited messages. Contact EasyPass directly. Contact, whatever state you were in, their tolling agency, and say, hey, I got this message. 9 out of 10 times, you're going to find out that it's a scam, and if you really did owe a toll, you're going to get a letter.
I'm going to tell you right now, on a lot of those tolling sites right now, as I mentioned before, there is a message on their homepage right now saying there is a massive scam nationwide going on, and it's telling you, like, hey, like that immediate is like, oh, crap, I already did get, it's out there. Yeah. They're trying to warn you just as much as we're trying to warn you here today. So I think that's good. Reporting is the next one. So reported unwanted text messages. Why is this important?
It's important so we can do exactly what we're doing right now. And so if a lot of users are getting these messages, and maybe it doesn't blow up as big as it did, but we're starting these little sprinklings, if we don't know about it, we don't have the opportunity to come and talk to you, and you can share with all your viewers to say, oh, now I got one of those too. I thought it was real. Oh, in reality it wasn't. So the only way we can make sure we help spread the word, and that's why we want everyone is to take that second to become an advocate and protect your neighbor, protect your friends so they don't fall for it.
Yeah, you might know that they went on vacation and got back, and you're like, hey, did you get that text message the other day about the toll thing? Well, that's fake, dude. Don't do it. And they're like, oh, man, I did. No,
help spread the word.
It's good. You already said this, but super important, don't engage and delete the message. Why do you not want to engage with these folks? Even if you're like, screw you, I'm not, this is fake.
Great question. Because what you're doing at that point is you're letting that scammer know you're willing to engage. And so even though it might not get anywhere with that message, they possibly will flag your phone number and say, well, we know Jeremy's going to respond to us. So maybe the toll one wasn't what he wanted to respond to. But next time we're going to try and talk to him about his utilities. We're going to talk to him about his cable bill. And maybe one of these, we're actually going to sink the hook and get him to tell us something he didn't want to.
Because it's going to be timing, because timing is everything.
Timing is everything.
Timing, pressure, the whole thing. It's very crazy how quickly it blew up, though. And I think that is something that people should be aware of, is it doesn't take much for the scammer to get this out there in big pieces. And it was probably planned for months and months and months, quote unquote. So I think the surprise factor here is just how many places it got to. Maybe that's probably something. And what does DATCP feel about that, or nationwide? How like, dang, how did so many people get this message?
Well, I think it's just the progression of technology. We've talked about in some of our outreach presentations how back in the day we would watch these movies, and if you wanted to see these rooms where you have lines of phones, you got one person maybe handling two of them, they're calling back and forth. Well, at that point they can really only perpetrate 2 scams at a time because there's 2 people. Well, now you are sitting with a call room that could have 1,000 phones, 10,000 phones, and with the push of one button you send this message out to however many phone numbers you have saved. And so if you can aggregate all those phone numbers and create whatever messages you want to send, click, and there you just sent 1 million messages out.
And finally, maybe this is a bigger question past DATCP, maybe it's FTC, but are we catching people and doing these? Are we finding these folks out there because of people that have been generous enough to send you guys reports and let you know that, hey, these are coming in? What does that angle look like?
We are catching some scammers. I wouldn't say that we have we personally at DATCP have a lot of specific scammers sending text messages, and because a lot of them are coming overseas. Right. A very, very large volume of these are being sent overseas. However, not in the sense of maybe catching all of them, but there is a lot of efforts being done to stop them and slow them down on what's coming through. And these partnerships and collaborations between the states and the federal government have put in some features and required some carriers and things like when your phone comes up and it says scam likely, or it's labeled. That is the result of an effort where the federal government was saying, hey, carriers, you need to screen these a little bit more. There's another effort that is now requiring some of these internet service providers who are creating these hubs for calls to say, you need to do a better job screening these. Because you can't just say, you know what, I don't know what's going on. You need to know what's going on. So those things are stopping them, but there are some bad actors that are being caught.
Well, and they keep finding new ways too. I mean, right? So for every 10 you stop, you know, they found 10 different ways of doing it. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I'm just saying, like, it's still got to keep our guard up. We still got to keep reporting it and, you know, work together, I guess, as a team to stop it.
It is, you know, you say, and we talk about this, can you stop it or can we just slow it down? And I think the unfortunate reality is we're never going to stop it. But what we can do is we can maybe reduce it for ourselves, but most importantly, we can understand what to look for so that we don't fall victim to them when they come through.
I think, too, it's always good. Bad that this happened, but good because so many people were brought to the attention of it, right? Like, it impacted so many people, and so it got people talking. And then, you know, maybe some people got to learn a little bit more about what was going on, too. So it's kind of like, it's on them, like, hey, you brought awareness to this just as much as DATCP or what we're doing here.
We have kind of a talking point in our outreach presentations where the only way that we're truly going to be successful in Wisconsin is if every year we have the opportunity to talk to every single citizen, all 5.9 million of us, and say, hey, we're sitting in front of you, you hear the message, you know what to look for. Absent that, we're really going to be dependent on exactly what you just said, is helping spread the word, helping see it happen, knowing that it happened to somebody, and hopefully they didn't fall victim, but maybe they got close, but close enough that for them to talk about it. And that's what it comes down to, is making sure that they're also sharing that word so that we can all keep protected.
Yeah, no, Michael, I appreciate the time and answering the tough questions today. We look forward to having you back. In the meantime, you should go to DATCP's website, check out the latest and greatest. And if you did fall victim to this, no fret. There's some great steps online to check and kind of work that process, so to speak. But also report it, too, if you haven't. How can they find that information?
You can visit us at datcp.wi.gov, or you can give us a call at 1-800-422-7128. If you have any questions, we'll talk you through. You need resources. Or if you want to file a complaint, you can do all of that right there.
Fantastic. You can tell how Michael's been doing on Talking Fitchburg as well. Submit that feedback. No, don't do that. Michael, appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.